Welcome to the You're Not Crazy podcast, hosted by Jessica Knight, a certified life coach who specializes in healing from narcissistic and emotional abuse. This podcast is intended to help you identify manipulative and abusive behavior, set boundaries with yourself and others, and heal the relationship with yourself so you can learn to love in a healthy way. You can connect with Jessica and find additional resources, content, and coaching at emotionalabusecoach.com.
Hello, and as always, thank you so much for being here. This is another bonus episode. I'm going to be dropping some of these when, basically, probably as many as I can. I'll sprinkle them in. The purpose of them is to give a little bit more insight into some of the patterns, some of the things that you can begin to look at, think about in order to begin to break free. And so if you are new here, my name is Jessica Knight. I'm a certified life coach specializing in emotional abuse and high conflict divorce. If you are feeling stuck, confused, questioning everything, you're totally in the right place. I offer one-on-one coaching to help you untangle from toxic relationships. I offer validation calls, which are single sessions designed to give you the clarity and confirmation when you need it the most. And if you're struggling to make sense of what's happening, this podcast is a space where your experiences will be named, will be validated and understood. You can follow me on Substack, which is a blog community, using the link that's in the show notes, and find me at emotionalabusecoach.com. Today I want to talk quickly about DARVO. I've done another episode on DARVO. I will link it in the show notes as well. But the point of looking at DARVO is because it's one of the things that you can begin to untangle yourself from emotional abuse or coercion. And it's because it helps you focus on the patterns, not the person. That's something I say all the time. You need to focus on the patterns, the actions, what's actually happening, not the person that you're looking at and you're thinking they wouldn't do this, or they don't have this ability, whatever that might be, or they don't intend it. It's so easy to get caught up in their behaviors or their excuses or their occasional kindness that you get, because as we know, they're not always abusive. But when you do, you tend to lose sight of the bigger picture. And patterns continue to reveal cycles of manipulation, gaslighting, and control. They're consistent, familiar, and they form the foundation of abuse. And when we take a step back and observe patterns, it removes the focus away from the abuser's charm or justifications, and instead you start to see the dynamics at play. And this is crucial. This is a crucial first step. It allows you to make decisions based on what is repeatedly harmful, rather than being swayed by this moment of kindness or guilt. It's not about who they are. It's about what they continue to do over and over again, especially when you're saying it's hurting you. And this is how DARVO keeps you stuck. If you've ever felt confused, lost, or like you're the problem in your relationship, you've encountered DARVO, which is an acronym. It stands for deny. They refuse to acknowledge any wrongdoing or validate your feelings. Attack. They turn the focus on your behavior, framing you as unreasonable or overly emotional. And then they reverse victim and offender. They position themselves as the victim of your supposed aggression, flipping the narrative entirely. This is one of the most destabilizing tactics of a manipulator, because it invalidates your emotions. It makes you question what's going on. So you're being gaslit, and then the blame starts to get shifted onto you. So now you're feeling guilty and you're questioning yourself. But when you find yourself defending your actions instead of addressing the original issue, you are even more stuck, because now you're defending what happened. You're trying to over-explain, and whatever hurt you in the first place is far out on left field. And so if you think about it, like if you've ever been in a relationship, or if you've reached out to an ex to discuss unresolved issues, whether it's about your feelings or misunderstandings or the logistics of something, did they frame it as you're the one creating problems or being overly reactive or negative or sensitive? Instead of addressing your concern, say it's like an unresolved issue, like this thing that we need to resolve that you are 50% a part of is not getting resolved. Now, he likely or she likely painted themselves as calm, as rational, being unfairly harassed by you. You're asking a question, and now they're attacked, which solidifies their role as the victim. That's where the reverse victim and offender comes in, because now they're positioned as like, now you can't just solve something by yourself. Why are you bothering me about this? We're broken up. When you're like, because we both spent $2,000 on this flight. And now, like I'm trying to like get a flight credit for this thing, but, or whatever it is, right? If you co-parent with somebody like this, like it's impossible to make any decision. And this is a tactic that's not passive. It's calculated, and it allows them to deflect responsibility while ensuring that you remain emotionally destabilized. And this happens in relationships all the time, right? You say, I feel this way. I'm upset that, you told me you'd be home at 10. You came home the next morning. Why are you trying to control me? I was just out with my friends. Like, I didn't do that. Like I told you, I texted you that I wasn't going to be back. And then you're like, but you didn't text me. Like, I don't have any texts. Here's my phone. I felt really scared. I'm glad that you're okay and that you're here now. Next time, can you like, can you give me like a more accurate time? Or if you are going to stay out, can you let me know? Or like, can you just not stay out? Because like, I can't manage the kids alone in the morning, especially if you're out and I don't know where you are and I'm off. And then it's like, oh, now you're so sensitive. You're trying to control me. I'm just trying to go out for one night. Like, it turns into something else. And so how can you break free from that? You could recognize the pattern. This is when you start to see the pattern. You understand that their silence, their deflections, and attacks aren't about you, but they're avoiding discomfort and responsibility. You reclaim your narrative. You remind yourself that your attempts to communicate weren't dramatic or sensitive or over the top. They were not unreasonable. They're valid, necessary, and they're reflecting your emotional maturity. And then you stop chasing closure from them in some way. And sometimes this could be on one issue. Sometimes it could be on the relationship. You focus on acknowledging their patterns, but detaching from that narrative, which when you're in a relationship with somebody, it feels so painful to do, but it is so necessary to do because you're not letting their narrative control the show anymore. It starts to shift things inside for you. And really to shift the shame back where it belongs, which is onto them. This isn't about you being unreasonable. This is about their refusal to communicate, their refusal to meet you halfway. Manipulators thrive on shifting the script. But the truth is you were likely trying to find peace in chaos that they created. And when you stop focusing on the justifications and you really start looking at the patterns, that's when you start to feel like you can be back in control again. You stop questioning what's going on. You start questioning your worth. And you start to see that this is a part of a cycle. This is part of their narrative. And that you want to begin to build a life that prioritizes your peace and your emotional well-being. And you could do that whether you're in the relationship or not. I know this was a shorter episode today. My hope is that you're able to see what's going on, that you're able to begin to see yourself in the cycle. And at the very least, every time DARVO happens, and just a reminder, DARVO is deny, attack, reverse victim offender. When they are denying something that happened or invalidating your feelings and then attacking, turning the focus of what happened on your behavior and then reversing victim and offender. Now they're the victim because something happened and now you feel hurt by it. What they are doing is they are manipulating you. And even if you could just start to see that in a relationship, it will go a long way into understanding what is happening. And to me, that's the first step to beginning to break free. If you need any support, you could always email me at jessica@jessicaknightcoaching.com. You can find me on my website, emotionalabusecoach.com. And you can find me on Instagram @emotionalabusecoach.